Hello and welcome to this Excel 2013 training video. In this video tutorial we're just going to have a look at a little snippet, and it's going to be about a dynamic named range. When you're creating named ranges, you're normally limited to just whatever you've selected or highlighted. If you're going to use it in, say, a drop-down list with data validation, you'd have to go back out and redevelop that data validation every time you added new items to the list. What we're going to create is a dynamic way of doing that. So let's have a look and see how that works. Okay, so I'm in my Excel. What I'm going to do first of all is just quickly create a list. So just a couple of items. So we've got 3 items in my list to start off with, which is great. And if I was going to say do some cells just here, I'm just going to highlight them. This isn't part of it, it's just so I know which cells I've chosen. If I was going to put these cells and use data validation on them to limit the entries to a list, what I could do is go to data validation, and then choose list and select my source as those cells, and then click on OK. And that in itself is absolutely fine. I now have a data list. It's limited to those in the list, which is fantastic. But what if I expand my list? What if I put in a pair? It doesn't immediately appear in my drop-down list, which is a bit of a shame. What I have to do is highlight it again, go back into my data validation, and change the source from A1 to A3 to A4, which is fine. It's not too difficult in this small example, but the larger it gets, the harder it will become. And now pair's been added. I could leave some extra room, so if I think, okay, my list is going to grow over time, I'm going to change it and I'm going to accommodate the fact that, say, that whole area there will be part of my list. That's perfectly fine, it will work in the same way. The problem is you end up with these blank spaces, and I don't like that. That's not good. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up dynamically. So we've got our apple, banana, kiwi, pear in our little list over here. That's fine. We're going to use a function called offset to set that up. And what we need to do first is define a name. So if you go to the Formulas tab and select Define Name, what we can do is define this name as fruit, and workbook comments, and refers to sheet A1. Again, we could just come through, we can highlight the areas that we want. Sorry, I'll start that again because it went a bit wrong. Highlight that area we want, and that's fine, it will select it. We can then use that in our list. But again, it's still not dynamic. We'd have to come back in and change it and tweak it. So instead of highlighting down here, you can see it's got an equal symbol. That allows us to put in a formula. And if we use the offset formula, which is equals offset and open brackets, what we can do is select the first cell, which is A1. So offset A1, and then we'll do comma 0, and this is the position or offset position from the cell we selected. So we don't want it to move anywhere, we want a 0, 0. Next selection would be height, and for the height we put in a count, and we'll do a count A, and that will count any field that's got a record in it. So where do we want to count? We want to count the whole of column A. If we're using the whole of column A, it's best to keep it to a whole column. It doesn't have to be A, it can be somewhere hidden over in a different worksheet or anywhere else in your spreadsheet. So we're just going to close down the bracket for the count A. So count A, sheet 1 AA. So the whole of sheet 1A. And then we're just going to do comma 1 for the width, because the width is just one cell. And I'm going to close my brackets. And I'm going to click on OK. So let me just go back in to my formulas, and I'll go to my name manager. You can see fruit is here, and you can get a better look at that formula. So if you have a quick look there, it's equals offset, which is the start of the formula, and then the first cell, which is in sheet 1, A1, and then we're going to have a 0, 0 for the actual offset. For the height, we're going to do a count A from sheet 1 in the whole of column A, and for the width, it's just set as a 1. So we called that fruit, so we'll click on close. All we have to do now is highlight our area we want for data validation, come back over. What I'm going to do is going to just go back into data validation, and this time I'm going to get rid of what was there because we were playing. I'm just going to type in equals fruit, or whatever name you gave your dynamic list. Click on OK, and what we'll have now is our fruit options there. So now I can come along and I can add in, say, a berry. Come and have a look in here, and straight away it's been updated. So we've gone from a non-dynamic list to a dynamic list. So any other entries we add in here would work in the same way. So I'm just going to quickly type in a few letters. Can't think of any fruits at the moment. So I've just extended the list again. If I come back to my drop-down list, yep, they've all been added. So that's one way of creating a dynamic list, and it can be used in all sorts of different items in your spreadsheet, but my favourite is to use it in the data validation area to constantly update this when I've added a new entry. I hope this has been useful. Thank you for watching.